I want to learn Godot. And obviously the best way to learn something is jumping headfirst into an active war zone in Neolithic France with nothing but a toothbrush and a dream, naked. So that's exactly... The Godot Wild Jam runs for 9 days. Unfortunately, I was busy on the first and last, so I really only have a week. Also, literally the only experience I have in Godot is the world's most biblically accurate Flappy Bird and pushing a box onto a square. So that's 7 days to make a game, and I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, jam theme, just announced. It's Metamorphosis. I have an idea. I want to make a dungeon crawler. I don't know why, but like I've been wanting to make a dungeon crawler for the past couple of days, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm thinking a dungeon crawler where you're slowly exchanging parts of your body until you turn into something else, and each little like body part gives you like a buff and a debuff and something, and we're getting into it. The most important thing in a dungeon crawler is the dungeon. So apart from doing whatever the hell this is, I spent the first day focusing on the game environment. Being completely new to the engine, my first instinct was to look for a tutorial. Oh. Thankfully, the Godot community is very supportive, and I quickly found this godsend video from Devlog Logan and followed it to make a basic tile set I could use to build rooms later. I then put together some reference art and wrote a list of all the props I would like to make. Did I overestimate the amount of time this would take and spend 3 hours figuring out the particle system only to end up making less than half of these? No, absolutely not. These ones were just motivational. We're going with a retro PlayStation era vibe for this jam because it's super easy and somehow looks amazing, so we're sticking with it. Day 2 is all about combat. I've been playing Chivalry 2 for a bit, and I really love that kind of slow, meaty melee style, so I got to work coding this in, and here is where we take a deep dive into Godot. GD script is an interpreted language. This means that instead of being compiled and run directly, your computer spins up a schizo personality shard to read and translate it on the fly before sending instructions to your computer. As you can guess, this can be pretty slow. Godot also supports C#, C++, and Rust, which I would normally prefer, but for the sake of this jam, we're trying the engine's bespoke language, GD script. Also, the game looks like this, so performance should be fine. Another challenge is how Godot handles structuring game logic for objects themselves. Every objecting component in Godot is called a node, and this can be pretty much anything from particles to visuals to gliders to the entire level if you want. And every node can be serialized and saved into scenes, so everything's super reusable. It took a bit to get used to, but I actually really like this system. So after all that, we have a functioning combat system. You can swing your sword around, you can block, you can dash, and my favorite feature, it can bonk things. I've spent so much time bonking things, and I get really distracted from developing the game when I'm just spending 30 minutes bonking things. It's very satisfying. Day 3. I don't remember what I did on day 3. There's like 3 commits and no footage, so I don't know. Day 3's just gone, I guess. Day 4, and it's time for some enemies. Meet Gertrude. This asset I genuinely think is my best work ever. Best thing is, making the art for this was actually very easy. I plan to do a full video on how I make art for games, specifically how to make things look good quickly without needing that much skill, because I'm a programmer and I really struggle with art, but I found some hacks that evidently help quite a bit. In Gertrude's case, we start with a model. I'm keeping it very low poly, just focusing on broad shapes. One thing to keep in mind is how detailed certain parts of the model are compared to others, because keeping it balanced is important. Next, we go through some rigging, some IK, and simple animations. It's okay if it looks stiff, it is literally made of metal. Last step in Blender is UVs, and the only thing of note here is I'm using the Texel Density plugin because I have to make sure the scale of the pixels on the textures is the same across all objects. Now, things get interesting. In my opinion, good texturing is one of the most important, easy ways to make things look good. Behold. 1. Take a pre-made smart material from Substance Painter. 2. Tweak the values a bit to get what you want. 3. Throw the textures in Photoshop. And 4. Nuke the resolution. Voila, Gertrude. But where does she fight? Dungeon crawlers. We love them. They've been around forever, and a common theme many share is procedural generation. Dungeon crawlers are hard, so you're going to be dying a lot. But if you have to play the same level every time, it is gonna suck. So we need a way for each level to be unique. What you're seeing here is a randomly generated dungeon layout. We start by spawning a room in the middle. Then we pick a random direction and spawn another room next to it. Every step, we pick a random room we've already spawned, pick another random direction, spawn a room, and keep going till we have the required number of rooms. To prevent clustering, for each direction it chooses, there's a chance it skips that direction based on how many neighbors the new room would have. This creates some pretty interesting shapes, especially as you change how much you let it cluster. After all the rooms have spawned, we go back and replace random rooms with special ones, such as the start and end, loot rooms, and healing rooms. You can see it here in game spawning a bunch of placeholders. I also use that visualization as a minimap, which is very helpful because the dungeons can get quite big. Following that, day 7 was pretty much just a ton of level design. I made more tiles, fill more unique rooms and corridors, and banged out a couple of each room type. The gates between rooms also slam shut when you enter, which is wonderfully dramatic. By this point in the jam, I've made a ton of progress. Godot is feeling great, the game is coming along well, we have cool art, fun combat, enemies, and even procedural levels. But we're running out of time, because there is only one day left, and the game still doesn't have anything to do with the theme: metamorphosis. Since the beginning, the plan was for the player to advance through the dungeon, finding special rooms where they could fight tougher enemies, and getting rewarded for that success. These rewards are cursed items you can swap out your body parts with. There's slots for 2 legs, 2 arms, face, lungs, and heart. Each type is themed around different buffs and debuffs, and as you advance between floors of the dungeon, you can choose one item to lock in. It'll give you an extra buff, but you can't swap it out anymore. And once you have all 7 parts locked in, you win. So I drafted up, one second, 22 different items. And it may have cost me my sanity, but by God, I made every single one of them. That's 22 unique models, textures, icons, descriptions, and status effects in about 9 straight hours of pure fugue state. My mind was not present. And that's it. The game is done, with one exception. This is Mommy. I showed it to a friend, and that is the first thing they said. No comment. Now, I'm super happy with how things turned out, but after the jam was done, I realized I had made one big mistake. I had made a game, but not a jam game. And you might be asking, well, what's the difference? But the context of how a game is played is very important. The game I made is fun, decently polished, and it fits the theme very well, but also the scope is pretty big. It's hard, it's complex, and most importantly, it's long. When submitting to a game jam, the people rating and judging your game aren't going to play it for more than 5 or 10 minutes, and that is simply not enough time for them to interact with most of the systems I built in. So it didn't do very well. Also, pretty much every other dev made their game playable directly on the browser. I did not, and understandably nobody downloaded my game. So yeah, lesson learned. Anyway, it's free on itch.io if you want to check it out. Link is down there somewhere. And that is that. Super happy with the experience and absolutely loving Godot so far. Also just wanted to say thank you so much for the support on the last video. It has like 12,000 views, which is so mind-blowing it bypasses shock. Stay wrinkly.